do a lot every single day, and you deserve time to work on crafts. As we're all running around doing like 3,000 things every single day, it's hard to find time to craft, especially to make tumblers. In order to find time for crafts, there are a few things that we need to do. Today I'm going to walk you through some mindset shifts that we need to make. I'm going to go through a sample schedule for how you can fit tumbler making into your schedule. And then I'm going to give you 4 specific ways that you can save time to create more time for actually making things. This video does focus on tumbler making and making tumblers, but I, along with most of you, make so many other things, so a lot of this information can be translated into whatever you're trying to make. The first thing that we need to talk about is our mindset. Now, time is a privilege, and having spare time and extra time to do things that we enjoy is an immense privilege that many people just don't have. And on top of that, we live in a culture that does not prioritize rest and recharging and doing things for just fun, especially if you live in the US, right? We're here just trying to work as much as we can. We have to put in as many hours as we can just to get by. So it's important that we slow down and recognize this privilege that we do have in order to want to create things, in order to want to incorporate crafting in our day-to-day life. And not only to step back and kind of acknowledge that privilege and want, also accepting that it is absolutely okay to have a hobby. Like I said, we don't live in a culture that, encourages hobbies and doing things for fun in our spare time, but it is so important that you remember that it is absolutely okay just to do things because you enjoy doing them. Not only is it just okay for you to do things that you like, it is actually good for you. It is good for your mental health to have a hobby, specifically an artistic hobby. There are studies that say that crafting can help those of us who deal with anxiety, depression, and even chronic pain. It can help reduce stress, it can increase happiness, which is all good for the brain as we age. I know I personally got into crafting because of my anxiety and because of my depression, and it really does help me get through each day, knowing that I can help myself through the crafting process. Once you get your mindset in the right spot, the second thing you need to remember is that it's not a race. You are not trying to get things done the fastest or the most or, going as quickly as you can. It is absolutely okay for your crafts, your artwork to take time. It is absolutely okay if you work on the same thing for months. It honestly doesn't matter. If you want to move really quickly, by all means, please do, but it's helpful to remember that it is not a race, and at the end of the day, you're not really in this competition with anybody. You're really just doing this to find that enjoyment, to help your brain, and to just give you that joy of creating new things. And the third mindset shift is thinking of all of the things that you should be doing instead of just crafting. There will always be dishes, there will always be laundry, there will always be things that you should be doing instead of things that bring you joy. But I know personally that if I don't carve out the time for myself, I am not as efficient when it comes to doing the housework, doing my job, getting my kids where they need to be. It really helps my brain focus more on those tasks and be more efficient in those tasks if I carve out time for myself to actually, be creative. So it's sort of like a twofold, right? Don't get into that trap of saying I should be doing this or what you should be doing, because you should also be taking care of yourself. And if crafting and making things helps you feel better and be just an overall better human, then that is something that you should be doing. So let's get away from that should mindset and just know that it is absolutely okay to take the time and energy to just put into creating new things. So moving forward, we're going to accept that it's okay to have a hobby and it's okay for it to take time. It's okay for you to take months and months and months if you want to learn something new, to try something new. And it is absolutely okay for you to carve out that time. There are not things that you should be doing instead. This can be something that you can consider what you should be doing. Now let's get into how much time do we really need to make tumblers. I am going to focus this section on tumbler making with CrystaLac products, but this is also something that you can translate into other things. So how much time does it take to make a tumbler? You really only need a few minutes here and there to actually make tumblers. If you're new to CrystaLac or you're trying to navigate, making your tumblers with CrystaLac, if you're making the switch, you've probably heard people talk about that it takes so many coats to get a tumbler done. Well, I'm here to tell you that it really doesn't take all that much. You're talking, if you're using Grand Finale, 12-ish coats for a tumbler, which sounds like a lot, but each coat only takes like 30 seconds to apply. Like quite literally, in under a minute, you can apply your coat, wash your hands, and go about your day. So since we're all busy, it helps to know that you only have to spend about 1 minute doing each coat. So for an entire tumbler, we're talking like 12 to 15 minutes total of actually working on your tumbler. And I think that kind of helps us kind of reframe how much time we really need to make things. One of the reasons that I use CrystaLac on my tumblers is because it is safe to use in my home. So if you need to, you can move your cup turner in a spot that, you can see it, that maybe you're sitting at your desk and in between calls, you want to do a quick coat, but you don't want to walk all the way to the other side of the house. So it's like super nice that it is mobile and you can do it anywhere that you need to do it to help you save time. And because of that safety and me being able to do my tumblers anywhere, anytime, I don't have to worry about my family, that it is a lot easier for me to make tumblers with CrystaLac. And the way that it works, because each coat of Grand Finale dries in 2 hours, but really dries to the touch in about an hour, you can do a high volume of tumblers. So last month I was getting ready for my first craft show and I was able to make like 35 tumblers in a matter of weeks because I was able to just cycle through them so quickly. They don't have to stay on the cup turner for very long. So it's really nice to know that I can make a big volume of tumblers in less amount of time. Even though it seems like each tumbler might take longer, I'm able to make more all at once. So let's talk about a sample schedule. This may help you figure out sort of where this fits in your day. So let's say you have a regular 9-to-5 job and you have to go into the office 3 days a week, but you can work remotely 2 days a week. Now, what you do on your office days are going to be different than your not office days because you have a little bit more time and room to create things in your spare time if you don't have to commute to the office and you're at home with all of your stuff. So let's talk about what happens on the days that you go to the office. If you're trying to get your tumblers done and you're like, when am I going to add my coats to my tumblers? I want you to think about, can you wake up 5 minutes earlier so you can put a coat on your tumblers before you leave for work? Just let those spin, dry throughout the day. You can get smart plugs to turn on and off your tumblers if you want. I can link what I use underneath this video, but then you can kind of do a coat, go to work, and then you can do a second coat when you come back. Let's say you get home at about 5:30 p.m. That means you can recoat your tumblers one more time, well, maybe even twice before you go to bed. It really depends on what time you go to bed. So let's say you coat at 5:30 when you get home. You could do a quick coat at 7:30, and then even at 9:30 right before you go to bed. So you could get 3 to 4 coats done in a day, even if you work full time out of the house. And that's going to help you because you really are going to be sanding every 3 or 4 coats, doing Grand Finale. You can still get your cups done pretty quickly if you can find a way to get 3 coats done every single day. There are some pieces of the tumbler making schedule, like base coating, prepping, and applying glitter, that might take a little bit more time. So I would leave those to the days where you do have more time. Maybe the days that you're working from home, or maybe you can find a couple hours one day of the weekend to really just play around with your glitter and try new things and just mess around with all of your tumblers. It helps to save some of those longer activities for days that you have more time. It doesn't have to be every single day. You don't need to be in here putting glitter, doing all these things for hours and hours and hours every single day. We're talking like once or twice a week if you can find that time. Otherwise, in between, the actual steps of making the tumbler are very, very quickly, and you can do that with a busy schedule. So the final piece of the puzzle to actually make time for crafting is to find ways where you can save time, because unfortunately we only have 24 hours and we have to sleep and we have to do things, we have to work, we got to pay the bills, we have to eat. So if we can actually save time in those little chunks that we do have to actually be creative, it can help us be a little bit more productive in those moments. I know for me personally, I'm always, finding time in between of doing things with my children that I might only have 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 15 minutes here. If I can save time, I can use most of those chunks to actually be creative and get things done. So my first tip for saving time is to batch like tasks. So for example, I will prep like 20 tumblers all at once. Even though I might not be using all 20 tumblers, I then have them prepped and base coated all at the same time. So when I'm ready to make something, I can just grab it off my shelf and get going. So if you're already prepping, just prep them all. It's a lot faster than every time you need one tumbler, getting it out, getting the supplies, prepping it, washing it, doing a bunch at once is going to save you time. And that goes for base coating as well. You don't have to wash your paintbrush. You can get out the paint one time. It's a lot easier to batch like tasks. So if you prep a bunch and base coat a bunch, and I always just base coat them white because I can just change that later if I do need a different color, then I can just take a tumbler off my shelf and actually make something. I don't have to worry about that sort of pre-making process. The second tip to saving time is to move your workspace if possible. If you are very, very, very strapped for time, it might be helpful to move a tumbler turner and a tumbler up into your kitchen. Put something down so you don't ruin your counter, and that way you don't have to worry about walking upstairs, walking to the basement, going to your garage, going out to a shed, wherever it is that you're working. If you can keep one piece of equipment close by, you're going to save some time. My third tip for saving time is to plan ahead. I have found that the time where my brain is going and the time that I'm able to be creative is not actually the time I can get into my basement and work. It's usually when I'm doing stuff with my kids or I'm out and about or doing something else. So if you can keep a plan of what you want to do, of ideas that you do have, for those chunks of time that you can carve out for crafting, you can save time. So you don't just come down here and you sit here and you're like, what did I want to make again? And then you waste 5 minutes trying to remember what it is that great idea you had was. So if you can plan ahead, you're going to save yourself so much time. I keep all of my ideas and thoughts in my Tumblr planner, and I'm going to walk through in my next video how to actually organize some ideas, so make sure you subscribe if you don't want to miss that video. So I use my planner to organize my ideas and to plan ahead, and that ties into my fourth and final step to saving time, is to front load some of that organization. If you're only going to have 20 minutes to do something, you can't spend 5 to 10 minutes searching for your tape measure or your paintbrush or whatever it is that you need. If you can't find your materials, then you're going to be wasting time just looking for them. And this is something that happens to me all the time. It's my ADHD that I just can't find anything that I need when I need it. So it is super helpful to spend some time organizing your space so you know exactly where everything is. And then that way, when you only have 15 minutes to get down here and do some crafting, you can find the materials that you want to use right away. So organizing is super important, not only our ideas, but also our supplies. These are both important for saving time and mental energy when it comes to crafting. In my next video, I break down how I generate ideas for tumblers and crafts, as well as organize those ideas. So make sure you join me in that next video. I'm going to put it up on your screen right now.